Hello and welcome to Nithrania YouTube channel. You're watching another episode of the Game in a Nutshell series designed for explaining the board game rules. My name is Branislav Berec, and in this video we're going to learn how to play Severton, a new game from Vlaada Chvátil, published by Albi. It's a game based on very famous novels which started as comics, written by Jaroslav Foglar between 1938 and 1965, I think. It's a cooperative game for 1 to 5 players, where players take roles of young, brave guys, teenage guys, experience adventures in a very dark and shadowy streets of the Severton district in a city which has never been named and mentioned in the books. So let's take a look at how to play this game. The game contains 5 scenarios which you can find in the scenario book. These scenarios are unique and independent, even though they represent a full story. The first scenario is considered to be some introductory scenario, and then the second scenario is a complete game. And then scenarios 3, 4 and 5 introduce some new game elements, some story elements. I'm going to cover the complete game in this tutorial, including the differences between the first and the second scenario. The first scenario omits some rules, it has some different setup for quests, so I'm going to point out these differences during the video. As each scenario is unique and independent, you can come back to these scenarios as many times as you want. Even if you complete 3rd, 4th or 5th scenario, you can still come back to the second scenario, for example. And since these scenarios are not pre-scripted, you can have a different experience every time you play a scenario. Then in terms of the number of players, the Rapid Arrows was a group of 5 young, brave teenage guys, and that's why all these 5 characters are always present in the game. If you play a 5-player game, each player will control 1 character. In a 4-player game, you will introduce 1 double character, either the Recap and Fleetfoot or Henry and Jerry. If you introduce one of these double characters, replace those 2 characters with 1 double character, and again each player will control 1 of these characters or the double character. Now in a 3-player game, each player will only control 1 character or a double character, and there will be 1 shared character, which means all players will play for that character. How? I will show you in the video. However, don't introduce the second double character. There can always be only 1 of these double characters in the game. And similarly, in a 2-player game, each player will only control 1 character or a double character, and they will have 2 shared characters. If you play solo, you may use a double character, or you may simply use all 5 single characters. And since you are solo, you will play for all these characters. For the sake of explanation, I will demonstrate a 3-player game where 3 human players will control these 2 characters and this double character, and Will True will be a shared character. Now let's get to the game board. First, prepare these game progress boards. Those are these small boards. Each scenario has its own board. Each piece of the board has a number either at the bottom or at the top, and the number indicates in which scenario you use these boards. So here we have 2, which means I have prepared the boards for the second scenario. The boards for the first scenario look like this. There is no track on the left side, and in order to better explain the game, the full game, I decided to use the boards for the second scenario. This is the Rapid Arrows track, this is the Unrest track. And the boards for the first scenario and also for the third scenario don't have any Rapid Arrows track. Furthermore, these boards are double-sided, and when you prepare them, the number of these stars indicate the level of difficulty in the game. The more stars you have, the higher the difficulty. In our example, we only have 1 star, which is at the bottom of this board. There is no star at the top of this board. You can choose the difficulty between no stars whatsoever or up to 3 stars. Then, this is the Unrest token. Place it in the first space of the Unrest track. And this is the Rapid Arrows token. If there is a Rapid Arrows track, place it in the first space. And now, these icons indicate the number of Vonts groups you will start the game with. And this icon indicates how many action cards and other types of cards all players will start the game with. Let's take a look at these Vonts first. Here we have icons from A to E. So take these Vont group tokens with the corresponding letters, place them on these spaces on the game board. This side of the game board is called the Vonts board. Shuffle these two decks separately. These are Vont movement cards. These are Vont group cards. And for each Vont group present in the game, draw one card face down and place it next to that corresponding token. Take all the character tokens, all 5 of them, and place them on the location number 1. Place these cubes here. They will be used with the quests. These are action cards. Shuffle the deck and place it face down here. And place this lock token on each of these purple passages. Those are secret passages, and these are locked at the start of the game. Then shuffle these location tiles, place them face down in their designated spaces. And now for each Vont group, reveal the location token of the matching type. Here we have this star. And place that Vont group on the location with the matching number. Here we have 4, so the Vont group with letter A goes to the location number 4, which is here. Do the same with all remaining Vont groups. So with letter B, it's this kind of shape. Reveal the shape, it's location number 18. So this group will start in this location, and when you're done, it may look like this. Then go back to the game progress board and look at these icons here. That means that each player will start the game with 4 action cards, and this is an icon for an item card. Action cards are drawn from the deck. If you play with items, shuffle the deck of item cards and give each player 1 card. Place it face down. Players are not allowed to look at these cards yet. And when you draw action cards, put them into your hand and don't show them to other players. That's why I have them here face down. If you have any shared characters in the game, both the item card and action cards are revealed face up. So all players can see these cards of the shared character or characters. Each player may obviously look at their own cards, but they may not show cards to each other. Then take this game phase token and place it on this first phase of the game. This is the game phase disc, and the game starts with the action phase, which is this one, and then prepare the quests. Each scenario has a unique set of quests and unique instruction for quests. For the first scenario, follow the instructions indicated in the first scenario. I'm going to prepare the quest for the second scenario. You have to open the envelope number 2. This envelope contains the quest cards, and by the way, also these item cards. They are both in the second envelope. You unlock the second envelope once you win the first scenario. And all the quest cards have the number in the top left hand corner, and that indicates the scenario which these quest cards belong to. So shuffle all the cards, place the deck here, and then reveal 3 quests face up and place these quests on these spaces. And make sure that each starting quest has this sun symbol in the top left hand corner. It may also contain the moon symbol, but it must contain the sun symbol. If it doesn't, set the card aside, draw the new card or new cards until you have 3 quest cards with the sun symbols. Shuffle the other cards back into the deck. And now, if the quest has any shape like this, so again, let me show the card on this camera. If you see the shape like this, draw the location token of the matching shape and indicate that location on the game board, and also follow the instructions behind the words when revealed. Here we have mark the drawn location with a cube. Since the card is in the space which is surrounded by this red border, mark the location number 15 with the red cube. Do the same for the second quest as well. Here we have location number 17. Since we have the blue border, let me take the blue cube. It comes here. And the third quest says that we have to place 3 cubes on Vonts group letter A. So since it is in the space with the yellow border, the Vonts group with yellow A, we may place it also here, we'll get 3 yellow cubes. So this is a procedure you have to follow every time you reveal a new quest. In scenario 2, 4 and 5. Scenarios 1 and 3 are different. Again, you can find these differences in the scenario book. Now, that's the end of the setup, and let's move on to the gameplay. Severton is a cooperative game where all players work together, and in order to win the game, they must usually fulfill the quests until they bring the Rapid Arrows token to the top of the track. They lose the game if the Unrest token reaches the top of the track. However, always look at the scenario book because the scenario description gives you all the instructions on how to win or how to lose the game. The game follows this game sequence disc. Each round starts with the action phase in which players will perform actions. Usually they will move and explore. They can explore the Vonts groups or they can unlock these secret passages. Then in the Vonts phase, the Vonts groups will take actions based on these movement cards. They will either move or not. And if there are any encounters, so when the Vonts groups meet with characters, encounters will be resolved. Then all the remaining phases are basically administration phases. The third phase is the quest phase in which you resolve any quests which are completed. This is the Unrest phase in which the Unrest increases in Severton. And then this is the Vonts replenishment phase in which you will draw new movement cards. Then the player's refreshment phase, well, players will draw new cards. And then the quest replenishment phase. If there are any quests completed, you will draw new quests. And then again, the new round starts. The game continues like this until either the Rapid Arrows win the game or until Rapid Arrows lose the game. So I'm going to explain all those phases in more detail, and we will start with the first phase, the action phase. In this phase, players will take actions. In order to perform actions, players will use action cards, and there is absolutely no player order in this game. Players can play in any order they want. Actually, they have to find the best order for their actions, including the actions for the shared character. Discussing the options and finding the best sequence of actions is the key to success in this game. There are 2 types of actions players can do during their action phase, and that's movement and exploration. Although I said that players may not show cards to each other, let me reveal the cards here just for the sake of explanation. Action cards have 2 independent parameters: the number with the symbol, which is important for the encounters with Vonts, and the card color, which is important for movement. These parameters are independent. You can have a blue symbol with the blue color of the card. You can have a blue symbol with a red color. This is a wild symbol. And this is a wild card. It doesn't have any symbol at the top of the card, so you may not use it during the encounters. However, it has a wild color, which means you can use it for movement through any kind of a passage. Wild card and these purple cards also have this symbol, which is the exploration symbol, which means you can use those cards for exploration. So let me talk about movement first. First, let's take a look at the board. We have 4 types of passages here. These yellow, wide streets, then red, narrow streets, blue are steep staircases, and then we have these purple secret passages. In order to move from one location to another, you have to play a card with the matching color. So here, for example, you have to play a yellow card. When you play a card, the card is discarded to the discard pile. Here we have the yellow card. It's discarded to the discard pile, and now Henry can move from location number 1 to location number 2. If there are other characters in the same starting location, they may go together with that character. When they do, they move simultaneously. However, this time, let's say we want this yellow and blue character to move together with white. These characters also have to discard a card, but the card doesn't have to match the color. It is like this character is leading and other characters are simply following that movement. That's useful when these characters don't have the card of the matching color or they want to save this wild card. So for example, Jerry would discard the blue card and Will would discard the red card. Again, cards are discarded. And if any player plays for the double character, both tokens are always moved together as one character. However, in order to move that character, you only have to discard one card for both characters together. So, for example, if we discard the blue card, then the double character can move along this blue passage. Remember, wild card can be used as a card of any color, and the purple card can only be used to unlock the secret passage or move through that secret passage once it is unlocked. So, for example, let's say that this double character would be in this location. If you are at one of the ends of the secret passage, you can discard one of the purple cards and unlock that passage. So you do this and you can discard this token. The passage is now unlocked. If you want to move through that passage, you have to play a purple card. And the movement rules for these secret passages are the same as the rules for any other passage. So, for example, if you have another character with you and that character doesn't have any purple card, you can move together. The double character would move through the secret passage using the purple card. So we would discard the purple card, and then the other character may simply follow with the card of any color. Let's say we would discard the blue one, and this way they can move through together as a group. Note that you have to discard one card to unlock that secret passage, and only with the next one you can move through that secret passage. Now, regardless of whether moving alone or as a group, each character is limited to 2 movements per one action phase. So when you play a card as the movement card, you can set it aside somewhere nearby, and this way you can count how many movements that character performed during the action phase. And only then at the end of the action phase you can discard the cards to the discard pile. Note that you are limited to maximum 2 movements. It is entirely okay if you move only once or if you don't move at all. Not moving at all has certain benefits. If you don't move during the action phase, you can flip your or one of your item cards face up. You will find the instructions on how to use the card and when you can use that card. You can use it during the same action phase in which you reveal that card, and after you reveal the item card, you are still not allowed to move during that action phase. When you use the item card later in the game, simply discard the card because all these item cards are one-time use cards. The limit of 2 movements only applies to the actual movement. The second type of action, exploration, has no limits whatsoever. In order to perform the exploration, you have to use the card with this symbol, so either the purple card or the wild card. We have already seen one way of using the exploration, and that's for unlocking the secret passage. If you are at one end of the secret passage, you can unlock it by discarding the purple card. That's the exploration action. And the second way of using the exploration is to investigate the nearby Vonts groups. That Vont group must be maximum 2 movements away from the character who wants to do the exploration or the investigation in this case. And if you unlock any secret passage, for example this one, you can also count these unlocked secret passages. So this group of characters can also investigate or explore the group with letter D. When you decide to investigate a group, let's say Jerry wants to investigate this group with the letter C, you have to discard a card with the exploration symbol, so with this one for example, and then you reveal both cards related to that group. So here is group C, so you reveal both the movement and also the group card. You can now see where that Vonts group will move and what type of encounter you can expect from that group. There are 2 small additional rules which I need to talk about. First, if any character has 3 cards of the same color, then You can play all these cards together as one wild card. So you discard all 3 of them and count it as wild. And second, each character has a special ability which you can use once per round. If you do, you can tap that character to indicate that you have used that ability. One last note, if you want to play for the shared character, all these cards are face up and players have to collectively agree when and which cards they would play. This shared character counts as a regular player, however, there is no AI playing for that character. It's simply all players together make a collective decisions for that shared character. The action phase ends when players don't want to play any further actions or they cannot play any further actions. It is a good idea to keep some cards for the encounters with Vonts. So once all players decide that they don't want to play any more actions, the action phase ends. The next phase is the Vonts phase, in which all the Vonts groups will move. Process each group separately, start with the group A, then B, C, D, and so on. And for each group, first reveal the movement card if it hasn't been revealed yet. Then execute that movement and then discard the card to the discard pile. The Vonts groups move along the path just like players do. So if the movement card has a red color, then the Vonts group will simply move along the red path. If the card contains 2 symbols, one after another, then first they would move along the red and then along the blue path here. So in our example, first along the red and then along the blue path. If the movement card looks like this, then the group will move to the location with the highest number, adjacent location with the highest number. Here we are in the location number 4, and adjacent locations are 3, 5, 14, and also 13. Vonts groups move along any passages, even if those passages are locked, because they live in Severton, they know all these secret passages, so they would be able to move along this path as well, because this card also has a purple color here. So from all those locations, the location with the number 14 is the highest numbered location, so they would move there. If the location would be occupied by another Vonts group, they would ignore that location, and now they would move to the location number 13, and the encounter would be resolved immediately. Then if you have this kind of card, in the first scenario, in the introductory scenario, completely ignore the symbols in the top left-hand corner and simply treat it as the red card. In all other scenarios, first try to resolve this symbol. This says that if there is a group of characters containing at least 2 tokens in any adjacent location through blue, red, and yellow passage, then the group will move to the location with that group of characters. So, for example, if this group would be here, there is a group of 2 characters, even though this is a double character, which means it only has 1 card. Here we have a player playing for a double character. Although it's 1 card, it contains 2 tokens, so that qualifies for that movement card. It requires 2 tokens, which means the Vonts group would move to that location and they would encounter that group of characters. If these characters were here, it is through the secret passage, and there is no purple color here, which means this group would not be able to move through the secret passage. They only look at the adjacent locations through yellow, red, and blue paths. In that case, if you cannot resolve this symbol, simply treat the card as the single color here, so they would move along the red path, so they would make this kind of movement. And if we have a card like this, then first, if there is any group of characters containing at least 3 tokens, up to 2 movements away from that group, then the Vonts group will move to that group of characters. So, for example, if we had 3 characters here, there are 2 movements away from this group, and it is a group of 3 characters, so the Vonts group will move to that character or group of characters, and there would be an encounter. However, in this situation, when no group of characters has at least 3 tokens, then this cannot be resolved and you would simply move along the yellow path. Now let's talk about a few additional movement rules. If the Vonts group has to move along a certain path, in this case yellow, and at the end of the path the location is occupied by another Vonts group, then this group will not move and they will regroup. Regrouping, you can imagine that some members will leave the group, some new members will join, which means the members of that group will be different and they may have different intentions. Which means if this group card is revealed, which means you have investigated the group and you know how that group will interact with you, then discard the revealed card and replace it with a new card, because the group has changed. In case the card was not revealed, it was still face down, which means you didn't have any information about that group, then you don't need to draw a new card because you didn't know anything and you still don't know anything. If we have this double movement and there is a Vonts group in the first location, however the second location is empty, then the first group will move to the second location and they would not regroup. However, if the second location would be occupied by the Vonts group, then this group would move to the first location and then they would regroup. And finally, if the Vonts group has this double move and they encounter the group of characters or a character in the first location, the encounter is resolved immediately, so the movement is interrupted, and at the end of the encounter, if the Vonts group still have the movement card available, they would complete the movement and they would move to the second location. That may happen when these characters successfully hide or when they are caught. Then, when you finish with the first group, simply discard the movement card and then proceed to the next group. Again, reveal the movement card, execute the movement, resolve any encounters, then discard the movement card and continue like this until you resolve all the Vonts groups. Now let's move on to the encounters. Encounters may occur both in the action phase and in the Vonts phase. During the action phase, characters can voluntarily move into the location with the Vonts group. During the Vonts phase, players may end up involuntarily in the same location as the Vonts group. When that happens, the encounter is resolved immediately, interrupting any movement. When it happens, look at the Vonts group and reveal the Vonts group cards if it hasn't been revealed yet. And the card indicates how you can interact with that group, so which methods you can do to resolve that encounter. Some of these cards contain all these three symbols. The red one indicates the physical fight. The blue one is a discussion with the group, so you may outwit them during the discussion. And the yellow one indicates hiding from that group. Some cards may look like this. In this case, you can only engage in the physical fight or hide from that group. In this example, you can only hide from that group. There is no other way how to deal with this group. So let me explain all three types of encounters, and we will start with the first one. The red fist and the number indicates that you have to engage in the physical combat. There are three circles here, and that means that all characters involved in the encounter can participate in that physical fight. And they have to generate the strength of 14 or more. They do that by playing cards with the matching symbol or these wild symbols. So here we have Henry, Jerry and Will in this encounter. They can use these cards with the red symbol or with these wild symbols. So here we have 4, 5, 5. Then 3 is also, this is a wild symbol, you can use it as well. And at the back of each card, you have this one wild symbol, so in case of emergency, you can discard the card face down and use it as a 1 strength, which you can use as a symbol of any color. So in our example, if these three characters would discard this card, which is 4, plus 5 is 9, plus 5 is 14, which is enough to defeat the Vonts group in a physical fight. These cards are discarded. And if you win this physical combat, physical fight, remove the Vonts group token from the map, place it back on the Vonts board, discard both cards which correspond to that group. This group has been scattered, but not for long. They will come back in the next round. If the double character is engaged in this fight, then their symbol is doubled. You can imagine that both of these characters have the same card, so if this double character would use this card, this would count as 10. So double character is really good. If you have the card, they're really good for the physical fights. One last note, each character involved in the fight can use any number of cards from their hand, not just one. Then the second option is called outwitting the Vonts. In this case, you see, there is only one circle here, and that means that only one of the characters involved in the encounter can perform a so-called personal challenge, and that single character must play a card with the total value of 8 or more in this example. That means you cannot combine cards from multiple characters involved in the encounter, only one character. So here we have a 4 plus 3 plus 2, that would be 9 in total, which would be enough. Again, all these cards must be discarded, and if you win this type of encounter, the Vonts group will trust you, and you can send them in any direction, in any unlocked direction. If, for example, this path would be locked, you may not send them through this locked passage. However, you can send them in any direction, although the location must not contain any other Vonts group. So, for example, here you would not be able to send them to this location. And in a very, very rare situation when all the adjacent locations would be occupied, then you would not be able to use this option. You would not be able to outwit them. It's a very rare situation, but it may occur, so that's why I wanted to mention it. And after you send the Vonts group in a certain direction, discard their movement card, even though they still may have some available movements. In this type of encounter, if you play for the double character, you can still imagine that only one of those characters is involved in a discussion with the Vonts group. So this time, this symbol is not doubled, or this number is not doubled. So you'd only use this 5 as a 5, not 10, as you would in a physical combat. Then the third option is hiding from the Vonts. In this case, again, there is only one circle around, which means it is a personal challenge, but every single character in that encounter must complete that personal challenge. Thematically, all these 3 characters must hide from that Vonts group, and every single character must play a card or cards with a value of 4 or more. Here, Henry would be able to use this card, Will this one, and Jerry would have to discard these 2 cards to generate 4 or more. In case of the double character, the game makes it easy for you. You don't have to do it for both characters. You only have to do it for a character as a total. So you need to discard 4 or more in our example. So the card with the 5 would be sufficient for the double character. When you successfully hide from the Vonts group, the characters remain hidden until either they leave that location or until the Vonts group will leave that location. If the Vonts group has any remaining movement, they would actually move away and the characters would not be hidden anymore. If the Vonts group remains in the location and there is any other Vonts group passing through, the characters remain hidden from that group as well. Now, if you fail to deal with the Vonts group using any option, so for example, if some characters would be able to hide, but one character was not able to hide from the group, then that character would be caught. When you are caught, take the token from the map, place it next to your character card. You will come back to the map in the next round, discard all your cards, and advance the unrest token 1 space forward. It moves only 1 space forward regardless of how many players are caught during the encounter. And that's all for the encounters, and we can move to the quest phase. During the quest phase, go one quest after another and resolve the text which is behind the quest phase words. Sometimes these quests will allow you to perform collective challenges, which are not usually collective, like using these blue symbols. In this case, all players can play cards with these blue symbols, or players indicated on that quest card. Some of these cards work with cubes. There are two ways how these cubes are used, either as a mark for a certain location, for better orientation for players, or as a counter. For example, here, every time you fulfill a condition during the quest phase, you remove one of these cubes, and when you remove all the cubes from this group, then the quest is completed. When you complete the quest, look at that quest. There is a number which indicates how many points you get for that quest. You may have additional points from that text. For every point you gain, you move the rapid arrow token one space up. After completing the quest is discarded. Return all the cubes of the matching color to this general supply. So let's say you have completed that quest. Return any location tokens to the indicated discard pile. If the rapid arrow token reaches or passes some of these special symbols, resolve these symbols. These are very easy. I'm not going to explain all these symbols here in the video. You can find the short explanation of all those symbols in the rulebook. However, in a nutshell, all these symbols indicate that the rapid arrows are doing great and it increases the unrest in Severton. On the other hand, all these symbols indicate that the unrest is increasing in Severton and that motivates rapid arrows to progress even further. This symbol introduces another group, new group of Vonts to the game, and when the rapid arrows reaches this space, rapid arrows win the game. And that's the ultimate goal of the game. By completing quests, you will move forward on the track until you reach the final space and win the game. Now, don't replenish the quests yet. That will happen in the last phase, the quest replenishment phase. Then the next phase is the unrest phase. There are two red arrows pointing upwards, which means the unrest token moves 2 spaces forward on the track. If you play with a double character, then these spaces also count. So in this case, if you move 2 spaces forward, you will go 1, 2. If you don't play with a double character, you would go 1 and 2. Again, you may encounter some of these symbols. As I said, they're very easy and they're all explained in the rulebook. And when the unrest token reaches the last space, all players collectively lose the game. The level of unrest is too high in Severton and it's too dangerous to move through Severton. Then the next phase is the Vonts refresh phase. First, if there is still any movement card remaining here, if you forgot to discard those cards previously, then discard them now. Then for each Vonts group, place a new card face down from the deck, and if there is any Vonts group token here, draw 1 card face down and place it next to that corresponding token. Then redeploy that token, do the same as during the setup, so take the location token of the matching shape, here it's this one, and place the Vonts group on that location, so here it's 22, and we would place the A group here. If the location is occupied by another Vonts group, for example, if we have to place this group in the location number 11, then move that or place that token to the next higher location, so it's 12. It doesn't have to be adjacent, it has to be next higher number, so 12. If locations with higher number are not available, for example, if you have to place the token on location number 20 and it's occupied by characters, you have to go to location 21, it's occupied, 22, it's occupied, there is no 23, then go from 20 below. So go to 19, 18, 17, and so on. So from 20, it is 19, we would place it here. Then the next phase is the players refresh phase. In this phase, first, players may discard any number of cards from their hand, if they want to, and then they will refresh the cards based on these small tables. Players will draw number of cards based on the number of cards they currently have in the hand. For example, Jerry has 4 cards in hand, which means Jerry would only draw 2 cards. Draw the cards from the draw deck. Again, keep these cards hidden from other players. The double character here has 2 cards in hand, which means they would draw 3 cards. But the characters that were caught will draw 4 cards as during the standard setup, which means they completely ignore this table. Then take the token and you may place it on location number 1 or 2. If multiple characters were caught, they can place their characters on either of those locations. Some characters may go to the location number 1, others to the location number 2. If any of those locations will be occupied by the Vonts group, then you can only go to the other location. If both would be occupied by Vonts group, then you can place that token on any adjacent location to those starting locations. And if due to some of these symbols there is this token on the draw deck, then each player draws 1 additional card. If both of these tokens are here, then each player would draw 2 additional cards, and that also applies to these shared characters. After that, discard the token or tokens from the draw deck. And by the way, there can never be more than 2 of these tokens here, so you can draw maximum 2 additional cards. And that's the end of the player's refresh phase. And we can move to the quest replenishment phase. If there is any empty space here, reveal the new quest, follow the text behind the when revealed. And since these are not starting quests, it doesn't matter whether they have or don't have this sun symbol. This quest replenishment phase is skipped in the first and third scenario, but you will find the instructions in the scenario book. The game ends when you collectively win or when you collectively lose. When you win, when you reach this space with the rapid arrows token, then you score 10 victory points. You score additional victory point for each space that the unrest token is away from the last space, so in this case 1, 2, 3, 4, and for each star, for each difficulty star, you score additional 5 victory points. So in our example, 10 plus 5 is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You may record that score in the Chronicle book. You may record the names of players, the scenario number, your achieved score. You may try to overachieve that score when you come back to that scenario, and at the end of the Chronicle you can also find achievements. There's a lot of achievements to unlock, so check that out at the end of the scenario. When you lose, you can also record a score. It's going to be probably negative, but who is interested in recording the negative scores? You can simply repeat the scenario and try to win the next time. So that's how you play Severton. If you have any questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. In scenario 3, 4 and 5 you will find additional components, additional rules for those components, but I will leave it up to you to study those rules and additional small rules on your own. You can come back to any previous scenarios at any time. You can replay them as many times as you want, and I hope you will have as much fun playing the game as I had. So thank you very much for watching. You've been watching Game in a Nutshell, the tutorial for Severton, a game by Vlaada Chvátil, published by Albi, and I'll see you on the next one.